Hello and welcome to the lecture series on Introduction to Indian Philosophy. Today I will discuss with you the Vaiśeṣika School of Indian Philosophy. Vaiśeṣika system is concerned with the ontological status of reality. It focuses on establishing what sort of Vaiśeṣa or the particulars comprise this whole world. It identifies and then classifies different types of entities, Vaiśeṣa, the particulars, and their relations that occur and become available for human perceptions. Which is why the system got the name Vaiśeṣika. So, what are they advocating? They are advocating pluralistic realism. We'll discuss this in a bit. But first, a little introduction. The Vaiśeṣika system has a sister school called the Nyaya, which was founded by sage Gautama. The founder of Vaiśeṣika system is sage Granada. Sage Gautama focused on formulating the principles of logic and offering an epistemology. He was concerned with questions like, how can one arrive at certain knowledge? What are the valid sources of knowledge? So, epistemology and logic are the strong points of the Nyaya school. And as I mentioned before, Vaiśeṣika school advocates the ontology of pluralistic realism. Sage Granada was more interested in the nature of reality, and the way he weaves the fabric of his philosophy is just amazing. And I will discuss it in a while. So, basically what the Nyaya lacked in was provided by the Vaiśeṣika. And likewise, the deficiencies in the Vaiśeṣika system were taken care of by the Nyaya. Although it is believed that Vaiśeṣika school is older than Nyaya and that sage Granada was earlier than sage Gautama, however, this does not affect the fact that the gaps in each of the two systems were filled by this association. I wish to state that in all probability, the Vaiśeṣika system is an outcome of some materialistic discussions among some wise people who later got fascinated by the Upanishadic teachings of the self and liberation. And by the time sage Granada composed the Vaiśeṣika Sutras, this group got systematized. It formally accepted the authority of the Vedas and became part of the orthodox system. Now it is time to know more about the founder of the Vaiśeṣika system, and that is sage Granada. Sage Granada is known by other names too, like Uluka, meaning owl, Kanabhuja or Kanabhaksha, meaning rice grain eater. Why he got these names? You see, there are various stories associated with this personage. According to one story, in the daytime he meditated in a dense forest, secluding himself from the worldly affairs, and at night, when people went to rest, he wandered about for food. This mode of living was very similar to that of an owl, so he got the name Uluka. He was called Kanabhuja or Kanabhaksha because Kana means a grain and Bhuja or Bhaksha means to eat. And there is a story also associated with the origin of this name. So, the sage was usually wandering about at night, and but as young women were frightened by the sight of him, he afterwards went in secret into mills, picked up pieces of corn from rice bran and ate them, and so was nicknamed Kanabhuja. If we go by the etymology of Granada, then we realize that Granada means atom eater. It is also believed that sage Granada was favored by Lord Mahadeva on account of the merit of his ardent ascetic practices. So, Lord Mahadeva appeared to him as Uluka Rupadhari, that is, bearing the form of an owl, and revealed the Vaiśeṣika philosophy to him. There are also references which state that originally he was known by the name Kashyapa. He was the son of a philosopher, Uluka, and was therefore nicknamed Alukya. Whatever it is, one thing is pretty clear, and that is Vaiśeṣika is a very ancient school. When exactly it began is not known. Some are of the opinion that sage Granada lived 800 years before the Buddha. There is also a work by a Chinese Buddhist writer in which he says that there lived a follower of Uluka in 260 AD. He said that the sutra composed by our teacher Uluka is named the Vaiśeṣika Sutras. It is subtle and scholastic. Its general tenet is the doctrine of the 6 categories. And the speciality is that cognition is something different from self. If anyone could defeat me in disputation, I should kill myself for apology. And there are other works which suggest that Uluka lived when the Sankhya had already been systematized. And he discovered some imperfections in the Sankhya, and that led him to establish another system. Now, the term Vaiśeṣika means superior or excellent and distinguished or different. So, the sage called his name Vaiśeṣika because it was distinguished from and superior to the Sankhya. However, it is best to say that Vaiśeṣika system had its beginnings at some indeterminate time. We should always keep one thing in mind, and it is very important. These sages to whom we associate these classical Indian philosophical schools, whether it is Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiśeṣika, even the Mimamsa. Now, these people never wrote anything about themselves. Name and fame were not important to them. Their purpose was to impart wisdom, knowledge, which they did in the best possible way. Which is probably why historians find it difficult to place them, locate them in their world of living people. So, what do? Easy way out. Call them mythical personages. But let me tell you, as you will study these Vaiśeṣika Sutras written almost 2500 years ago, if not more, you will realize that it was sage Granada who theorized that Gurutva or gravity was responsible for the falling of objects on the earth. And for all this while, we were thanking Newton for discovering the law of gravitation for us. Modern science glorifies the English chemist and physicist John Dalton for giving the atomic theory. Read the Vaiśeṣika Sutras and you will know that it was our very own sage Granada who propounded the theory of atoms. He is the one who first realized the idea that Anu, atom, was an indestructible particle of matter. In his atomic theory, he describes the dimension, motion, and chemical reactions of atoms. He observed atoms without any microscope and found them to be minute objects, invisible to the naked eye. They were indestructible and eternal. His area of interest was Rasavatham, considered to be a type of alchemy. He believed that all living beings are composed of either of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Vegetables are composed only of water, insects of both water and fire. Birds are composed of water, fire, earth and air. Human beings are composed of all five. He identified life as an organized form of atoms and molecules, while death as an unorganized form of those atoms and molecules. Sage Charaka, it is believed, based his medical theory on Vaiśeṣika philosophy. Anyway, we know the Vaiśeṣika system only through the Vaiśeṣika Sutras, which is the only work attributed to sage Granada. It is difficult to say how the sutras were originally arranged, as this philosophy underwent many transformations. It is even possible that some of the sutras are not even authentic. Some were perhaps added to the original ones. A number of scholars have commented on the Vaiśeṣika Sutras, and the earliest commentary is by Prashastapad, which is called Padartha Dharma Sangraha. It is a 5th century AD commentary. Interestingly, in his commentary, Prashastapad refers to sage Granada as Kashyapa. Then there is Udayana in the 10th century AD. He wrote Kiranavali, which was a commentary on Prashastapada's Padartha Dharma Sangraha. Another commentary on Padartha Dharma Sangraha was Nyaya Kandali of Sridhara, again a 10th century work. However, Upaskar, written by Shankar Mishra in the 16th century, is a direct commentary on sage Granada's Vaiśeṣika Sutras. And if you read both Prashastapad and Shankar Mishra's commentaries, you will notice some major differences. Certain irregularities and inconsistencies were noticed in Shankar Mishra's version. But we don't have to go into that. So, if you see the Vaiśeṣika Sutra, you will notice that it consists of 10 chapters or adhyaya, and each of these 10 adhyayas are divided into 2 sections or ahanikas. The Vaiśeṣika Sutra begins with the proposal of explaining dharma. It says, Athato dharmam vyakhyāsyāmah, meaning now, therefore, we shall explain dharma. And in the second sutra, sage Granada defines dharma. Yato abhyuday nishrayasa siddhihi sa dharmaha, meaning dharma is that which brings about material progress and the supreme good. The third sutra states, Tad vachanat amna yasya pramanyam, meaning the authoritativeness of the Veda arises from its being the word of God or being an exposition of dharma. Insofar as the definition of dharma is concerned, we generally rely on the Mimamsa system, as it is based on inquiring into the nature of dharma. According to Mimamsa, dharma is the object or good marked by the Vedic injunctions. If we compare this with the Vaiśeṣika definition of dharma, we find that in the Vaiśeṣika system, it is an independent concept. The Vedas become Vedas because they explain dharma. Dharma, however, does not become dharma because it is enjoined in the Vedas. This has been a great stance of the Vaiśeṣika system. In fact, before merging with the Nyaya system, Vaiśeṣika accepted only 2 pramanas, Pratyaksha and Anumana. Shabda was dependent on Anumana. I hope you understood why I mentioned this. Now, the 4th sutra of the first ahanik of the first adhyaya clearly states the significant doctrine of the Vaiśeṣika system. It says, Dharma vishesh prasutat dravya guna karma सामान्य विशेष समवायानां पदार्थानां साधर्म्य वैधर्म्याभ्यां तत्वज्ञानानि श्रेयसम्. Meaning, the supreme good is achieved through the knowledge of reality resulting from a special merit arrived at through the inductive method of agreement and difference of properties of the 6 categories, namely substance, quality, action, generality, particularity, and inherence. This sutra is extremely important, for it alone answers many questions. Questions like what are these padarthas or categories? What is their importance in the system? And why do we say that the Vaiśeṣika system represents pluralistic realism? You see, the purpose of sage Granada is to investigate the independent reality of each of the objects of the world, so that this plurality can be classified according to the different types of entities of which this plurality is comprised. So, he is concerned with the ontological status of the particulars or Vaiśeṣa of reality, or as I just said, the plurality of entities that the world is comprised of. Philosophically speaking, the system is called Vaiśeṣika, as the term Vaiśeṣa indicates particularities. So let us begin with the padarthas, which you know is translated as categories. How do we understand the word padartha? As padasya artha. Pada means word, artha means thing or entity. So, we may say that the etymological meaning of the term padartha is what is predicated by the word, the meaning of a word, or the referent of a word. Padartha means an object that can be thought and named. Padarthas therefore mean all reals, all knowable entities, or objects that belong to the world. For the Vaiśeṣikas, all objects denoted by words fall into these 6 categories as is mentioned in the 4th sutra. And these categories are dravya or substance, guna or quality, karma or action, samanya or generality, vishesha or particularity, and samavaya or inherence. Going by the sutra, we can say that sage Granada recognized only 6 categories. However, the later Vaiśeṣikas included in this list a 7th padartha, namely abhava, the category of non-being. Probably this was the time when the Vaiśeṣika system became more epistemological. It is not that sage Granada has not spoken of abhav in the Vaiśeṣika Sutra. He just did not give it the status of a padartha. Let us now understand these padarthas one by one. And we start with dravya or substance. In fact, dravya is the most important padartha because all the other padarthas in some way or the other relate to it. So, what is dravya? Let us start with the Sutra 15, which says, Kriya gunavat samavai karanamiti dravya lakshanam. Meaning, dravya is that which possesses qualities and actions, being an inherent cause of qualities and actions. Now, dravya is self-subsistent. Qualities and actions cannot exist except in a substance. It is just their ashraya or substratum. The relation between dravya and its guna and karma is that of inseparable inherence. There is no guna and karma without dravya. And it is understandable. The guna or quality does not hang in the air. It belongs to something. A fragrance or a red color, which of course are qualities, belong to an object. A rose, for example. Karma or action or motion belongs to an object. In itself, action has no significance. Action does not act. A body acts or moves, isn't it? So, what is important to know is that it is only in relation to dravya that all the other padarthas occur. Whether it is a quality, an action, a universal, an inherence relation, a particularity, or even a negation, they all have a being or a non-being in a dravya. Let us understand with an example. There is a pen in my hand. It is blue in color. So the quality of the pen is blue. If I throw it up in the air, it has an upward movement and then has a downward movement. What is this? In this case, the pen becomes the locus of an action. It is also the locus of the universal penness. Further, it is the locus of the relation of inherence between the universal penness and itself, as it is an instance of penness, being a pen. Now, this pen possesses its own particularity. It is an individual pen. So, Vaiśeṣika is also taken care of. Lastly, it is also the locus of abhava or negation. How? The pen is not an apple. I will discuss each of these padarthas in detail so that you easily understand each of these. Another important point that the Vaiśeṣika Sutra makes is that all dravyas of whatever nature that are there in the world can be classified into 9 different kinds. The Sutra 5 says, Prithvi apas tejo vayurakasham kalo digatma mana iti dravyani. Meaning, earth or prithvi, water or apah, fire, tejas, air or vayu, ether or akasha, time or kala, space or dik, self or atman, and mind or manas are the only substances. The first 4, that is earth, water, fire and air, are the material substance atoms. The last 5, that is ether, time, space, self and mind, are the immaterial substance atoms. Of these 5 immaterial substances, manas or mind is particular to each individual self and is itself of atomic size. What is important to remember is that all these 5 atoms are eternal. Dravya may change, it may last for some time and then it may cease to exist. The pen, for example. But as I said, as far as anu or atoms are concerned, they are eternal and indestructible. It is when these atoms join together in varying proportions that this diversity and variety of objects that we see around are produced. But they are all finite and reducible to their constituent atoms. Okay? Now, coming back to the classification of dravyas. Now, the first 5, that is earth, water, fire, air and ether, are called the Mahabhutas. They have their own peculiar qualities. Smell is the quality of earth, taste is the quality of water, color is the quality of fire, touch is the quality of air, and sound is the quality of ether. Of these 9 dravyas, only the first 3, that is earth, water and fire, are perceptible in the sense of being visible. Air and ether are inferred. They are inferred from the qualities of touch and sound. Time is inferred from the ideas of past, present and future. Space is inferred from the ideas of near and far. Mind is inferred from the fact of cognitions that take place in us. But how the self is inferred is beautifully stated in the 4th sutra of the 2nd ahanik of the 3rd adhyaya. It says, the ascending life breath, the descending life breath, the closing of the eyelids, the opening of the eyelids, life, the movement of the mind and the affections of other senses, and also pleasure, pain, desire, aversion and volition are marks of the existence of the self. Now an interesting thing is stated in the first sutra of the second anik of the fourth adhyaya. The sutra says, Tat punah prithvi adi karya dravyam trividham sharire indriya vishaya sangyakam. Meaning, the aforesaid product, substance, earth, etc. divide themselves into and assume three forms: the corresponding cognitive sense, the corresponding physical sense organ, and the corresponding physical object and its quality. How does one understand this? Now there is this sense of vision corresponding to which is the physical eye, corresponding to which is the colored object. One more example, there is a sense of smell corresponding to the physical nose, corresponding to the fragrant object. I think you need some time to process this, so I will end the lecture here. We'll continue in the next lecture. Thank you.